Hello and welcome to our Genesis Client Services webinar. My name is Amber Neely. I'm the Assistant Clinical Director here at Genesis. I'm also a counselor, and I'm joined by Charlotte Weatherford, one of our women and children's therapists here at Genesis. We are going to get into our topic today, but first I just want to go through some of our rules and housekeeping items. So I just want to remind everybody that this presentation is for educational purposes only. And so just keeping in mind your own safety and situation before putting into practice any of the ideas we're talking about today. Okay, so general webinar safety. So please be sure that you're watching this in a place where it's safe, where only safe people can hear it. If you have access to headphones, that might be helpful to ensure that nobody else can hear what you're watching. Remember to clear your browser history after watching the video if you suspect that somebody could be monitoring your phone or computer. And if you're watching live with us on Zoom, please remember if you have to leave abruptly, just click end a couple of times and then you'll have to go back in and exit out of the whole Zoom page. Regarding confidentiality, again, if you're watching with us live on Zoom, we ask that you do not use the chat feature. We're asking this because if you do use that feature, your name and your comment will be seen by anybody watching the live video. And also, since we are recording this video and posting it onto YouTube, your name and comment will be seen there as well. Same goes for the YouTube channel. If you shouldn't be able to leave comments on these videos, but if for some reason you see that that's open, we just ask that you don't leave any comments there either. Again, just for your privacy, your name will be seen by anybody else who watches the video. If you are in crisis or you need help with emergency safety planning or you're looking for emergency shelter due to domestic violence, please call our 24-hour hotline. If you're wanting to sign up for counseling at Genesis and talk to a counselor, please give us a call at that 214-389-7700 and we'll get you set up for that. We know that sometimes as you're watching these webinars, some of these thoughts come up, so just want you guys to have these numbers handy if you're needing to call afterwards. Okay, and then if you have any questions about the webinar. So we're going to be covering some parenting topics today. And we know that we're going to be giving some pretty generalized information, and we know that every situation is unique and different. And so if you have some specific questions about anything that has been said in our webinar today, please contact me or Charlotte. We will be leaving our contact information at the very end of this webinar. And you can email us or call us with any questions. You can also just call that number I just gave you guys, the counseling number, if you have any questions. We are not going to be monitoring any responses or questions left on the YouTube channel, so you'll have to contact us directly if you need any help. Here are some more hotlines. You have our Genesis hotline, again, safety planning, shelter, and support if you're needing that. That's 214-946-4357. The National Domestic Violence Hotline, maybe you're watching and you're not in Texas and you're still needing some support. You're not in the DFW area and we're too far for you. The national hotline is 1-800-799-SAFE, so that's 7233. They can connect you, they can take your zip code, and they can look up resources in your area. And then we have the National Suicide Hotline here as well. Experiencing domestic violence and trauma is really difficult. So it's really normal for somebody to feel, have feelings of hopelessness, or even to have thoughts about self-harming or suicide. So if you're having these types of thoughts, please call us or call the National Suicide Hotline. That number is 800-273-8255. There are people there that are really wanting to help you. Okay, so we're going to jump into this. We've been exploring parenting strategy using this ARC model, attachment, regulation, and competency. Charlotte has prepared some great information for us. Before we jump into that, I do want to just review exactly the population that we're serving and what we're talking about here, right? So what is domestic violence, right? So at Genesis, we specifically are serving women and children who've been impacted by domestic violence. We are doing this while keeping in mind the trauma the child has experiences and how this can amplify symptoms they're experiencing as a result of the domestic violence. When we're talking about domestic violence at Genesis, we're specifically talking about intimate partner relationships. So in that context, that occurs when one person uses abusive tactics. So this can be verbal, emotional, physical, or sexual. It doesn't have to be all of them. It can be one of them. They're using these tactics to maintain power and control over the other person and the relationship. Now, with our littles, with our kids or teens, witnessing this type of violence can be very traumatizing for them. Even if we think that they don't see what's happening or they don't really fully understand what's happening, they can sense these types of issues occurring in the family, and it can cause them to have symptoms. So when we talk about trauma, let's define what that is, right? Trauma refers to experiences that are overwhelming and may leave a person feeling helpless, vulnerable, or really frightened. Trauma may include specific types of events, right? So a car accident, a natural disaster like a hurricane or an earthquake. It may also include ongoing stressors such as family violence, right? So we have two things here. We have these single incident traumas like the car accident, the natural disaster that kind of happens and then it's done. And then we have family violence as an ongoing traumatic event. And so that can really create a lot of stress and symptoms in the family system. Children may also be deeply affected by other ongoing stressors. So poverty, racism, bullying, and discrimination, particularly when these are related to the child's social identity. And so we are going to spend the rest of this time talking about some tools that you can use to help your child navigate through any symptoms that he or she might be experiencing as a result of living and experiencing family violence.
Hey everyone. So I know that last week we briefly touched on building daily routines, but it's such an important component to your children's overall general lifestyle and development that we wanted to kind of expand on that. So I just want to talk about some of the reasons why it's so important. All children respond positively to routine, especially children that have been impacted by trauma. And here's a few reasons why. So routine can help with development in children's body clock. So, if you notice that your child is staying up really, really late at night, maybe it's because they are taking too long of a nap during the day or they're sleeping too late in the morning. So kind of having that consistent routine will help them have better sleep hygiene, sleeping through the night. It also can help with making sure that they're getting 3 nutritious meals a day, time for play, time for homework or chores. So just kind of making sure that there's a balance between everything and really regulating their bodily systems. The predictability and structure of a routine can provide a sense of security, safety, and sense of control for a child, especially if chaos has been triggering for them in the past. So I think in general, the fact that they have this structure it creates this sense of they know what's coming, they know exactly what their day is going to look like, which gives them a sense of control. It's not chaotic, which a lot of times in family violence, it can be very chaotic. There's a lot of, there's not a routine, it's very unpredictable. And so creating this really predictable routine every single day gives them a sense of security, knowing what's going to happen. A normal routine provides consistency and comfort to a child when changes occur. So whether this is a really small change, like every meal time is the same, this meal time you're introducing a new food for them to try. Because everything else has been consistent, it makes it a little bit more comfortable, and maybe they're going to be a little bit more likely to try a new food if everything else has been consistent. And even if it's a big change, like a new sibling, the fact that their little routine and their little lifestyle isn't changing too much from such a big change in the family can really maintain that consistency and really help them with that transition. And in general, routine can help with transitions. Like you notice, if you observe a classroom where they have the same routine every day, when children know that lunch is over, they know to put their plates away and then they need to line up for recess. That's because they do that every single day. So it really helps with transitions. And it helps to establish expectations of what's next. So this can be really helpful, so that you're, as a parent, you're not constantly having to redirect your child. Okay, now it's time to go brush your teeth. Go put your shoes on. Go do this. No, you need to stop playing with that and start this. And it kind of helps to be a little bit more of a partnership. They know their routine and they know what is expected of them. And that way you're there to sort of help them along and partner with them, not having to constantly direct them to the next task. And in that, it develops your child's independence. They're independently being able to get ready. They're able to clean up after their meal. They're able to pick their own book that they want to read with you at night. So that really gives them that independence, which helps increase their confidence. They can see they are provided opportunities for them to be able to show themselves that they're able to do these things. Even if it's something as small as pouring their own cereal. If at 4 years old, they start to learn that task and they start to be confident in their ability to take tasks on themselves and to complete them. And that's also going to help create healthy habits, creating that balance between homework and chores and play and family fun. These are all establishing some really healthy habits. Okay, so we just wanted to break it down a little bit. So in the morning, this can be a really difficult transition for a lot of families and a lot of kiddos, especially families that are coping with stress. So think about whether you and your family have a consistent morning routine, and if not, is there a way that you can make it more consistent? Waking up at the same time, and then putting the things in the same order. Do you brush your teeth, use the potty, and get dressed before breakfast? Okay, if that's what works best for y'all, then being consistent with that every day. And that way expectations are the same, and they'll start to get used to the routine, and then they know they can take it over themselves and you don't even have to remind them. Meal times are a really great opportunity for communication and a place for some family time. For children, family meals can build social skills. They learn to take turns, they learn manners, and they start to have an interest in others' activities. So it's not only giving you this space for them to learn some of these skills, but to also just have conversations with each other, ask each other about your day. You can play the high-low game. What was the best part of your day and the worst part of your day? And this really creates an opportunity for connection. An important note with food and meal times is that food choice is a common place for children to exert their need for control. If they feel like they don't have control in a lot of other areas in their life, this is something that they can try and take control over. So it's really important to try to avoid power struggles when it comes to food. Finding a middle ground between too much flexibility and too much control. So for instance, if you cook dinner every night and your child chooses that they don't want to eat that dinner, it's not forcing them to eat at that or nothing. It's you can eat this or you can make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. So that way there's somewhat of a flexible alternative, but you're still encouraging them to try something new. I think that can be the same with how much food they're eating. Maybe it's not you have to clean your plate. Maybe it's you need to clean half of your plate, or you need to eat two types of foods on your plate, some kind of compromise to kind of avoid those power struggles with food particularly. Play is a really important part to incorporate into your routine. It's a natural means of child's expression. Consider building time into whether it's a weekly routine or daily routine, for solitary play for your child, whatever they choose, for peer-to-peer play, so maybe setting up play dates every once in a while. It's a crucial part of healthy development, and it helps them with socialization and building social skills and conflict resolution skills. Together time should not be tied to rewards or consequences. This is something that would be consistent part of your routine and is not dependent on other behaviors. So for example, if you don't clean your room, then you're not going to get to spend time with mom today. For children with histories of neglect and abandonment, that could be particularly triggering for them. And trying to build one-on-one time with each child, and I know that can be difficult with as busy as life can get, but just trying to find those opportunities with connection with each child, and then also providing those opportunities as a family for the whole family to come together and play and just have some fun. Chores are just as equally as important. They can help build a sense of responsibility and self-efficacy. They should be age appropriate, but it's okay for even very young children to have chores, however small. This distribution, it helps to build this kind of cohesiveness of the family, and the children start to understand that they have an integral part of the successful functioning of the family and that they can make important contributions. This helps with their own confidence, like I was saying, self-efficacy and responsibility, and being accountable for contributing to the overall functioning of the family. So with a 3-year-old, that might just be throwing their trash away or cleaning up after, picking up their toys. And then if they're getting a little bit older, you can increase that level of difficulty in chores, but it's important regardless how little they are. Homework. So homework, school achievement and success are important areas of competency building for children. They spend so much time at school. It's really helpful to give them that space to help build healthy habits and to know how to complete their homework on an appropriate time and help them to build their competency with school achievement. Caregivers can contribute here by emphasizing the importance of it, providing an appropriate environment to support homework completion. So, just making sure that you have their own little setup with a little desk or a space where that's quiet, and maybe they have a little snack with them. Whatever is going to be helpful for your child. Maybe they need something like a fidget spinner or something that they need to fidget with while they're doing their work, but whatever works for your kiddo, setting up that environment so they can be the most successful when doing their homework. And just being available to offer help and encouragement whenever they need it, and emphasizing their effort and the fact that they're continuing to try over their success. And again, family together time, making sure that you're incorporating that into your weekly routines. Some families like to have a family meeting every once in a while, and this might be to address any questions or concerns anybody has, or establishing a routine or family rules. You can share significant events that are going on, make sure everybody's on the same page. This can be incorporated into meal times or bedtimes, but it's important that as a family you have opportunities to share with each other. So bedtime routine. So I know bedtime can be a difficult time. There's no doubt about that. And especially for children and for adolescents, and particularly those that have experienced trauma and that maybe the traumatic experience occurred at the similar time in the day or night, or in the place where they're now expected to sleep. So for children whose arousal is really high during the day, like looking like they're kind of bouncing off the walls, or hard for them to sit down, really fidgety, it may be hard for them to calm their bodies down in preparation for sleep, and a routine will help with that. And bedtime routines really help children decrease their arousal and learn to transition to sleep. So some things to consider, just having that consistent routine, kind of like in the morning, whatever tasks need to be done, deciding what order you want to put those in, and being consistent with that every night. And try to have your child sleep in the same place every night. That consistency, it's normal for them to sleep in that room and in their own bed, and they start to become comfortable there. And that can really help with their transition to sleep. Just being as consistent as possible. So what could potentially interfere with this routine? what sometimes comes up that keeps y'all from getting to bed at bedtime, or that tends to maybe trigger your child at night, and then maybe your child is really overwhelmed and upset, and that tends to kind of prolong the whole bedtime routine. What are some things that keep coming up, and thinking about how can I handle that situation if it comes up tonight? Identify nighttime boundaries and ways to cope with nighttime fears. So if your child awakens during the night, just what are you going to do? Is your child allowed to sleep in your bed? Is that a boundary for you? If so, then it needs to be consistent every night, that when your child awakes and comes to your room, that you very gently and calmly take them back to their room, help them kind of soothe themselves back down to sleep, and then you can leave them in there. But just whatever your boundaries are, making sure that you're really consistent with that. Minimize your child's engagement in highly arousing activities near bedtime. Decrease your child's involvement in activities such as video games, screen time, loud music, active play. So, an hour before bed, anything before that, you don't want to be like roughhousing or playing hide and seek or playing tag. Anything that's going to be highly arousing, you want to minimize those activities closer to bedtime. Lastly, just a few things for nurturing, for a nurturing time at bedtime: reading a story, letting them pick the story, cuddling, listening to soft music together. When you have a bath, when you're bathing your child, have your child take a bath or shower about an hour before. This helps kind of decrease arousal, and just paying attention to issues of privacy boundaries and the possibility of this time of day being triggering for your child. Safety check: help your child feel safe. Do they need a nightlight? Do they want a dream catcher, a certain stuffed animal? Do you need to check under the bed? Reassuring your child, I'll just be in the next room. You can call out for me if you need me. And allowing your child to read, listen to quiet music, relax before bedtime. So a couple of developmental considerations. In early childhood, routines at this age should include caregivers. So those nurturing activities right before bedtime, that's a good way to help them relax and build connection. Nighttime it's a time when generalized fears often emerge. Predictable nighttime routines are particularly important during this age. And during middle childhood, they will want greater independence, but they still might want their caregiver a little bit. So this is a natural time for nurturance, and children who've experienced trauma may show some developmental regression around bedtime. They may shift the mechanics of bedtime. So for example, you used to read the story to your child, now maybe they just want you sitting close to them, and they're reading to you, or they're reading while you're sitting there listening. And it may include independent activities, like they get themselves for bed, ready for bed, they brush their teeth, put on their pajamas, and then they know that there's a time that you'll come in and say goodnight. With adolescents, it's of course a balance, because there's this pull of independence, but also they still have a reliance and dependence on their parents. So just kind of playing this balance between independence and nurturance. They still need their privacy, but however, they're still children, and they may experience some developmental regression. Even if they're a teenager, they still might experience some of this at nighttime. And you can check in with them. Do you want me to come into your room before bedtime? Do you want a hug before bed? Do you want, is there anything that I can do for you before bedtime that's comforting to you? And flexibility versus limits. So adolescents are independent and don't lose sight, but you don't want to lose sight of limits. So maintain expectations around bedtime, so that maybe that means expectation is that you're in your room at 10 p.m., but you are allowed to read or listen to music and turn the lights off when you're ready. So I just want to add this little chart. Just says taking 5 minutes to connect, and they give so many different examples of things that you can quickly incorporate into your routine. So if you notice that you have 20 minutes before the next thing that you have to do, they kind of broke it down into different categories, whether it's a physical activity or a game, music, self-care, chores, or talk games. But these are a bunch of different ideas of things that you can do together for just a few minutes throughout the day that help provide some of that connection. Parenting tips and techniques. So just a few more things that we were going to cover. Establishing expectations, limits, and consequences as a family. You all can do this in the family meetings. Routine and consistency. Sensory play can be really great for kiddos, making slime, stress balls, having some kind of like water play, like a water board or a bucket full of water with different toys, sand play, rice and beans. This is an activity that can distract them and they'll play with for a long time. It's also really regulating. Increasing that family fun. So finding some of those 5-minute connection activities or having a pizza night, something like that with the family. Movement and exercise is really, can be really significant and helpful. So if you're finding that everybody's maybe getting a little antsy or a little overwhelmed or frustrated, go for a walk, kick the soccer ball, play tag. Go noodle videos are really great. But this can be helpful just to have these little bursts of movement throughout the day. But also when you notice that they're getting overly emotional, it's a good time to get some movement in. And connect and redirect is a great technique. And when you see that your child is becoming overwhelmed or really overly emotional, just making sure that you're connecting with them first, comforting, soothing, eye contact, gentle tone of voice, sitting there in their lap, whatever it is that's comforting to your child. And then once they're calm, then explain to them what the compromises or solution or limit that they cross. All right, guys, well, you've made such a big step towards helping to support your child during a difficult time for your family. We really appreciate y'all being here. This is all of our information if you want to screenshot it, if you have any questions or concerns. We really appreciate y'all being here. Amber, is there anything you want to add?
No, thank you so much, Charlotte. You covered a ton of stuff today. So yeah, just go back and watch this again on YouTube if you guys want to review anything and just, you know, take it one day at a time, of course, right? We're giving you lots of different tips and suggestions. See what works best for your family, right? Everything isn't going to work for every family. So just give yourself time, see what works best for your family. Give us a call if there's anything we can help you with. And thank you so much for watching.